Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with a very exciting video. I've been looking forward to filming this for ages, but I've left it right till the end of the year so that I could kind of finish my reading for the year. I probably won't finish any other books now. I'm starting a couple, but as I'm filming this it is the 29th and it's quite a long book. I've just started Quicksilver by Callie Hart, I think it's by. I don't think I'm going to finish that in the next 2 days because I'm back to work tomorrow. All that to say, I wanted to wait right up until I'd finished my reading for the year to film this so that it was as accurate and up to date as possible. So without further ado, let's get into my top 24 books of 2024, and I have ranked them from number 24 right up to number 1. So at number 24 we've got Defiant by Brandon Sanderson. I read this quite near the beginning of the year and it is the final instalment in the Skyward series, which is a series that very much took me by surprise. It's definitely a favourite series of mine now. It's a YA sci-fi following Spencer, who is a very determined young woman, and the world is kind of, I say the world, they live on a planet, there's not many people there. They're all kind of against her, nobody believes in her, and she's battling against that because she wants to become basically a pilot in their defence league on this planet that she lives on. And it's just wonderful. I just really love the series as a whole, and I think this was a really nice ending to the series. At number 23 we've got a book that I don't have a physical copy of, and it is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is a contemporary romance book with heavy anxiety representation. I would definitely say if you have anxiety, maybe don't read this on your worst day. I read this when I was in one of the worst anxiety periods of my life. And I think if I hadn't, it might have been higher on this list, but even reading it when I was like relating to it on a painful level, it was still a 4.5 star. And what I quite liked about it is that it was the male main character who struggled with his anxiety. I thought that was quite nice, like, representation that men obviously struggle with their mental health too. And the couple in that book are just gorgeous. They communicate. Their relationships, like their friendship, starts writing letters to each other. Stunning. Obsessed. Number 22 is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.A. Walther. Basically we've got a girl, I can't remember her name, Meredith. I'm rubbish with names, that is no reflection of how much I enjoyed the book. We've got Meredith, and every year Meredith's family go to Martha's Vineyard for the summer. This is the first year, however, that they are going back since Meredith's sister passed away. They've not been since it happened, so there's that element of the book. Not the only thing going on. So on Martha's Vineyard it is their cousin's, well, it's Meredith's cousin's wedding. So there's a lot of new people there as well, because usually I think it's like the same people that go every year. Whereas this year Meredith is meeting a lot of new people, and whilst meeting all these new people they're having a massive game of assassin across like the whole wedding weekend. So there's just so many elements going on. There's the family stuff, there's the grief, there's a new romance, there's meeting all the new people, there's the game of assassin. There's just loads of fun and not fun things going on that all come together to make what I think is just a very well-rounded YA romance book. At number 21, These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it is set in 1920s Shanghai. I don't think I've ever read a book set in Shanghai before, nor do I know very much about Shanghai in like real life either. But I do love Romeo and Juliet, so I just loved this. I've spoke about it in quite a few videos, so I won't harp on too much, but I think it was a really nice balance of taking elements from Romeo and Juliet, but also the book stands on its own. The world building, well, I say the world building, obviously it's set in the real world, but there's a lot of stuff going on that obviously does not exist and happen in our world, you know, like monsters and creatures and things like that. So the world building around that was great. The descriptions of the setting of Shanghai were really good. The pacing of the book was fantastic. It wasn't so fast that I was like, I can't keep up, but there was always like something, we were always on the move, something was always happening. Then we've got another book that I don't have a physical copy of yet, and it is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I've only read the first one so far, but I can see this being a favourite series for me. I loved this book. If you don't know what Caraval is, it's basically, we've got these two sisters and they end up at Caraval. I don't know the correct syntax there. Basically Caraval is this big game that travels around and the likelihood is you will either only encounter it once or never in your lifetime. It never goes back to the same place twice. And it's really mind-bending because no character in the book knows what is real and what is magic and what has real consequences and what is going to last after the game ends or what is just part of the game. And it's just so fun. It's so fun. The world building in this one is particularly, I just found it amazing. The world that Stephanie Garber created here is just gorgeous, and I could picture it so vividly in my head. So yeah, I would definitely 100% recommend reading Caraval if you haven't already. I know Once Upon a Broken Heart is more popular. I am very excited to get to that one in 2025 as well, because if that's better than Caraval, it must be pretty bloody good, because I loved Caraval. At number 19 is Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. This is another YA. We've got quite a few YA on here this year. I don't usually tend to like love YA books. I like them, but I don't tend to love them to the point of them being favourites. But apparently this year we've got quite a few. Anyway, this is a YA romance, and they are both chess players. They are both like amazing, like best chess players in the world, and they have a bit of a rivalry going on. They play against each other. He's a lot more like renowned and famous. Basically, Mallory used to play chess when she was younger, but she kind of took a break from it. And then she comes back onto the scene and everyone's like, oh, she's really good. And I forgot his name, Nolan. He is like the best player in the world. He's amazing at chess. Sounds really boring because I don't know anything about chess, but it's really not. It's just so fun, which I never thought I'd say about a chess book. But I also never thought I'd find science fun. I love Ali Hazelwood's STEM novels as well, so I think it's just Ali Hazelwood's writing can make anything fun and entertaining. But yeah, I love this. The romance was great. It didn't overpower the book, but it was there enough, and I think their relationship grew just so organically. And yeah, I can definitely like imagine that these would be like, they'd be a real couple in real life. At number 18, we've got a very big book. House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas. This was one of the first books I read this year, and it is a hefter of a book. It's the third book in the Crescent City series, and I know a lot of people didn't like this, and I get it. If you were reading this and you are like really into fantasy and you were reading this for the plot, 100% I understand why you would be disappointed. I was just reading this for the vibes, guys. I'm not here for the intricacies. I'm here for the vibes and the vibes alone, and the vibes were fantastic in this book. I can't say too much about this because it's the third book in a series, so I really can't say anything about what happens in here. But the Crescent City trilogy, well, I don't think it's going to be more than a trilogy actually. I think there's at least one more book, maybe two more coming out in this series. But just in general, Crescent City is an urban fantasy, so it is different to Throne of Glass and to ACOTAR, because this is set like in something that resembles our world. Obviously just with all the magic and the fae and everything in it as well. So yeah, I get why people didn't love this, but I really, really did. At number 17, we've got Play Along by Liz Tomford. This is the fourth book in the Windy City series. I love the Windy City series in general, but this is definitely my favourite from it. Just, there's something about the boy obsessed trope that gets me every time. So if you don't know about the Windy City series, the first one is Mile High, then The Right Move, then Caught Up, then Play Along, and there is another one coming out in 2025. They are sports romances, but they're all different sports, which I think is quite nice as well. A lot of the time, sports romance series tend to all be the same sport, which is good if you like the sport. But I think it's quite nice that this one's got a little bit of variety, so it doesn't matter if you're not like obsessed with the particular sport, because it changes throughout as well. Play Along, the trope is boy obsessed. He has been obsessed with her for a very long time, not in a weird way, like it's really not in a creepy way. He's just a very loving, bubbly kind of person, and he's just had his eye on Kennedy for a very long time, and oh, I just loved it. I especially loved it because Kennedy is very reserved. She's definitely got her walls up, so to see her like, I don't know, just gradually kind of fall in love with Isaiah the way that he has been in love with her for a long time was just so fun. At number 16, I have Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and then at 15, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, so I'll just talk about them together. They are, I think, going to be a trilogy. The third book is releasing in January or February, near the beginning of 2025. Currently it's just the first two that are out, and it's a cozy fantasy series, but like stuff happens in it. It's not like a nothing happens kind of cozy fantasy series, which definitely have their place. Basically, Emily is like a scholar, kind of. I think that's the best way I can describe her. And she studies the Fae, essentially. And she goes out on loads of different like trips and missions to go and study them. And you go along with her, and obviously things go wrong along the way. And also along the way, we've got Wendlyn, who is Emily's rival, who she despises and argues with at every given opportunity. I will say no more on that, but it's stunning, and I would definitely recommend that you read both of those books. And then I'm kind of going to group the next three together as well. So number 14 is Tower of Dawn, number 13 is Empire of Storms, and number 12 is Kingdom of Ash. So the final three books in the Throne of Glass series. I literally finished Kingdom of Ash 5 minutes before I started filming this, and guys, I don't know how I'm holding in the tears, but I did the tandem read for Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms, and I'm so glad that I did. The vibes are definitely different. So Tower of Dawn is definitely more like slower, longer chapters. Like I wouldn't say nothing happens, like you find out so much vital information, but I'd say that Tower of Dawn is more, here's a lot of info that you need and a lot of background, and Empire of Storms is more like, let's go get shit done. I personally liked reading them together. I thought the different tones and the different paces worked really well together. I can see why it would irritate some people though, and why some people would rather read them separate. But yeah, I loved the experience of the tandem read. I was so nervous going into it because I've never done a tandem read before, and they are both long books. I think the tandem read combined is nearly 1,500 pages, just under. So I was definitely intimidated, but I'm so glad that I did it as the tandem read. I just loved it. And then Kingdom of Ash, what an ending to a series. It wasn't a 5-star for me because I just know that Sarah J Maas isn't the biggest risk taker when it comes to endings. I'm not saying she doesn't kill characters, because she definitely does. People die. I think it's just obviously personal preference as to who you're emotionally attached to in her series. I've got quite lucky with who I've got attached to and who she has let live in all three of her series. But yeah, I loved Kingdom of Ash. I think it was a really good ending, and I feel very satisfied that I have finished the Throne of Glass series just before the end of the year. At number 11, we've got Col Tap by Mariana Zapata. This is a soccer romance, football to me because I'm in England, but I know that they are different sports in America, so we'll say soccer because that's what it says on the back of the book. But yeah, it's a sports romance, and Col Tap is a very famous soccer football player, and he ends up coaching our female main character, Sal, I believe her name is. Yeah, Sal. He ends up coaching her team. Sal has been like a super fan of Col Tap for years. Like, he is her idol. She's really looked up to him growing up. He inspired her to become a player herself. And then she meets him. And it goes from there. It's a big book. It's a slow burn. It's a, like, idol to strong dislike to friends to lovers. That's what I love the most, I think, about Mariana Zapata's romances, is that they genuinely build such a good friendship in most of her books before it becomes a romance, and I'm a sucker for that. The friendship in this book is gorgeous, but they also work together romantically. It's not the kind of book where it's like, oh, well, you should have just stayed friends. The friendship is stunning, but it's so satisfying when the friendship then moves from friendship to romance. So yeah, I really love this one. At number 10, we've got another one that I don't have. Oh, I do have a physical copy, but it's in the other room because I haven't hauled it yet because I got it for Christmas. And it is Long Way Down by Krista and Becca Ritchie. And then number 9 is Some Kind of Perfect by Krista and Becca Ritchie. And number 8 is Hot House Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So all three of those books are from the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. So Hot House Flower comes first out of those three. This is the first Ryken Daisy book and my favourite out of these three. I just loved seeing their relationship develop. Obviously I also love Long Way Down, which is their second book, but I just think there's something about watching them blossom and bloom in this one that was just stunning. This is a 10-book series, if you don't know, and it follows 3 sisters and their romances. There is a 4th sister, but she doesn't have her own POV. She's just a prevalent side character throughout the series because she's already married with kids. This book is about Reich and Daisy. Daisy is the youngest of the Calloway sisters, and Reich is how many years older than her? Is it 7? Which obviously when you're an adult that's really not that many years, but when they first meet, Daisy is a kid. She's like 14, 15 I think when they meet. Nothing happens. I want to make that very, very clear. I was so nervous going into this. I thought I was going to hate it because I just assumed that something was going to happen. Nothing happens romantically, physically, emotionally while she is a minor. I just want to make that clear. So yeah, I ended up just absolutely adoring this book. And then obviously I adored Long Way Down, and then Some Kind of Perfect is the epilogue novel, so that is where you get everyone's point of view back from the whole series, so all 3 couples. And it was just such a stunning ending. It was so slice of life, which I love. It was just basically random scenes from like the rest of their lives, just seeing what they're getting up to, seeing how they're getting on, and yeah, I just loved it. So just to recap, number 10, Long Way Down, number 9, Some Kind of Perfect, number 8, Hot House Flower. Then at number 7 we've got Ruthless Vows, which is the second book in the divine, is it called the Letters of Enchantment duology, I think? I'm sure that's what the duology is called. This is the second and final book in that little duology, and then the first one, which is my number 6 favourite book of the year, was Divine Rivals. So this is this YA? I would say this is pretty YA, maybe, but it doesn't read too YA. It's kind of a cross between, like, it's definitely a fantasy, but it's also got a lot of historical fiction elements, which I just adored because I love historical fiction. So we've got Iris and Roman. They both work for the same newspaper, and they are, as suggested by the title, rivals. But war is on its way in the world that they live in. So the story kind of starts with them at work, like arguing over which articles, which one of them is going to write. And then obviously things progress from there, and you get to see kind of more of the world. It kind of expands out, and you get to see their journey through the war and everything else that ensues. So yeah, I love this series with every fibre of my being. It's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. The romance in this is gorgeous, so heartfelt, just such like just a stunning, stunning romance, and a stunning story, so well written. As I said, I love the historical fiction elements of this. Like, the war is definitely fantastical, like there's gods and things like that in this book, but just so many of the descriptions felt so like drawn from real wars that I've read about in actual historical fiction. I really loved the combination of those two. Such a stunning series. Okay, we are into the top 5. So my 5 favourite books, my absolute favourites of 2024. So at number 5 we've got Funny Story by Emily Henry. I just don't even know what else I can say about this book. I just think I am Daphne. I've said in other videos, quite a big part of Daphne's story in this is that she has a difficult relationship with her dad. I'm very lucky that I don't have a difficult relationship with my dad. I've got a great relationship with him, but so many of the other elements of Daphne's personality and life, I was just reading and it felt like a personal attack. The fact that she just lives to please other people. She changes who she is based on who she's around so that people will like her. She feels like she doesn't have her own life, and she just doesn't know her own identity because she spends so much time just absorbing the wants and needs of everyone else. Stunning. The actual premise of this is we've got Miles and Daphne. Daphne's boyfriend or fiance, I can't remember, we'll just say boyfriend, and Miles' girlfriend cheat on these two with each other. So Daphne's boyfriend snogging Miles' girlfriend, right? And then they go off into the sunset together, which leaves these two single. Daphne has nowhere to live because she's moved to this town because of her now ex-partner. She doesn't have her own friends. The house was in his name. So Miles is like, I'll just move in with me. So they end up living together whilst their exes are with each other, living happily ever after. And their personalities at first are really quite different, but just the way that their romance develops is just stunning. Like, it's so, even though the circumstances are so weird, it's so organic, the way that you see their relationship grow and their feelings for each other and their understanding for each other grow. And it was just, I would say this is my favourite Emily Henry book, closely followed by Book Lovers, but I think this has taken the top spot for my favourite M. Hen book. At number 4, I think some people are gonna laugh, but I don't care. This is my 4th favourite book of the year, Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is a paranormal romance between Misery, who is our female main character, and what is the man called? Lo. I can never remember people's names, seriously. So we've got Lo and Misery. Misery is a vampire and Lo is a werewolf. They do not mix. The vampires and the werewolves hate each other. They like, I wouldn't say they've been at war, but they've been like, they have to be kept separate because they do not get along. And I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but basically some kind of bargain is made involving Misery, and it involves her spending a lot more time around Lo than she would necessarily choose to. And obviously a romance develops from there. This book is so funny, as Ali Hazelwood's books always are. Just so funny. Just, oh great. The politics are there, but easy to understand. Again, the world, it's developed and easy to understand. The romance is fantastic. Seeing them go from literal years and years and years of like deep rooted hatred to seeing them actually be together. Stunning. Obsessed. We are now into the top 3. So my 3rd favourite book of the year is The Night Circus. This, I think, is the most beautiful book that I have ever read in my entire life. So this is about a travelling circus, and you get to see quite a few different people's points of view in this. And there's kind of a lot of confusion around the circus and how it moves around and how it operates, and again a lot of questions like, is this magic, like how does this work? And again, you see so many different people's points of views and experiences in this circus, and there is a central plot, but what I loved the most was literally just following the characters, like wandering around the circus, reading the descriptions, all the different acts and everything. That was my favourite bit. The plot was good too, but just the writing and just, yeah, reading people's experiences and the descriptions and everything was my favourite part of this. Usually I need something to be happening in a book, like I either need to be really connected to the characters or I need a fantastic plot. This one, for me, didn't have either. It's not that I didn't care about the characters, but there wasn't any one character that I was like super attached to. And as I said, the central plot isn't like the main point of this book. So the fact that this is still number 3, I think shows you how good the writing in this book is. Because usually good writing isn't enough on its own for me. But in this book it was, because it was just beyond stunning. Okay, the next one, number 2. This book is here to represent a series. So, for some series, obviously I've put multiple books. However, this series I'm going to talk about now, I read all of it this year. So if I'd have put all of it in, it would have taken up quite a few spots. Whereas like Addicted Calloway, I started that last year. Throne of Glass, I started last year. Does that make sense? So for this one, I've chosen my favourite book from the series. But absolutely every book from this series was a 5-star for me. And it's the Boys of Thomas series by Chloe Walsh. I've chosen Redeeming 6 because that is my favourite. I just didn't want to take up 4 spots for like the same series, do you know what I mean? Because I read them all this year. Definitely read these in order. Definitely start with Binding and Keeping 13 because you get the whole background story in there. And then in these books you see a lot of new events that you've not seen before because Joey is older. He has a very similar home life to Shannon, but a very different outside of home life to Shannon. So you get to see everything that he gets up to. You get to see his perspective and his point of view and extra details on the stuff that happens at home. Trigger warning for on-page abuse in this series. Domestic abuse, very graphic violence. So please do be aware of that going in. But yeah, just Joey Lynch has my heart. The stuff that he goes through in his 2 books, a lot of it resonates with me just so much. And there was just such a heartbreaking scene. Obviously I'm not going to say what it is, but his books just had me in tears. So did Johnny and Shannon's. But just, there's something about Joey Lynch, guys. There's something about Joey Lynch that just makes my heart hurt for him. Just, oh, I can't. And Aoife Malloy, what a woman. God, she is incredible. She is so patient. She is there for Joey through everything that he experiences, everything that he does, she is right there with him. She is the definition of ride or die. Seriously, their relationship is just stunning. So yeah, the whole Boys of Tommen series is at number 2, but if we're going to be strict and if I had to choose my favourite, I would say Redeeming Six, but please read the whole series, bearing in mind the trigger warnings. I'm running out of space for you to actually see me above this stack. So my number 1 book, my favourite book of the year, which I read right at the beginning of the year, and nothing has topped it, Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings. This is the last of Magnolia and BJ's books. This is the 5th book in the series. There are going to be more Daisy Hates books. You can see it behind me here. So we start with Magnolia Parks, then Daisy Hates, then Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home, then Daisy Hates The Great Undoing, and then this book. You do have to read them in order, and I would recommend all of them. I didn't read all of them this year, though. I only read this one this year, and this one coincidentally is my favourite in the series anyway. I can't say what the theme is in this book because it will cause spoilers for the rest of the series, but if you know what the main theme is in this book, the thing that Magnolia is dealing with, I read this at the exact right time because I was dealing with the same thing. Not exactly the same, but the same feelings and emotions that she is going through in this book. I was going through something very similar at the time, and I really feel like reading certain books at certain times in your life affects your reading experience, and I would have loved this anyway, but reading it at the time that I did, I just had such a deep connection to it, and I cried so many times. There are so many stunning quotes and moments in this book. Obviously, also alongside that main theme, you've got Magnolia and BJ. If you don't know Magnolia Parks, it's a very toxic romance. And for the first book, you will probably hate BJ and you probably won't root for them and you probably won't want them to be together. But all gets revealed throughout the series. And we wrap up their story in this book. And it was everything I wanted for the ending of Magnolia and BJ's story. It was everything that I wanted them to have. So yeah, I could literally sit here for the next 6 hours and talk about this book. I want to cry also because I just love this book so much, and yeah, I read it at the exact right time. So they are, not that you can see them because I've stacked them the wrong way, but they are my top 24 books of 2024. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching my videos throughout this year. To anyone who has ever commented, thumbs up, subscribed, anything, thank you so much for everything this year. And I will see you probably tomorrow because I've got so many videos to upload that I've filmed that are about like end of the year, start of the new year kind of stuff. So I'll be back either tomorrow or the day after. Thank you so much for everything this year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give this one a thumbs up down below if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.